by families that live here and New Yorkers, families seeking asylum, that they are running low on supplies. Can you imagine when a local hospital that serves thousands and thousands of people suddenly shuts down? Our public hospital system is already overwhelmed and strained to capacity. They take every single person that walks in that door. This has to be a team effort, an effort on the part of every single stakeholder in New York City, and Mount Sinai has to do their part, period. So since following the closure plan, Mount Sinai has announced further closures in services and reductions at this location. So we're asking, of course, to keep the medical services, but to also be honest and transparent with our community. We deserve answers, and we certainly deserve to save the jobs of the people inside the building themselves. Patients are coming in here. You're going to hear some heartbreaking stories about people that have been forced to go to other locations, putting in jeopardy their health and the health of their families. Truly tragic story. So I do have a lot of people here that are in support. We have healthcare professionals, advocates, neighbors, of course elected officials. We're here to call on the governor, State Department of Health, and federal government to invest needed resources into Lower Manhattan so that we do not lose our hospital. With the closure of this hospital, we will have one hospital south of 23rd Street, just for 400,000 residents, not counting the people that are not counted, in addition to all the visitors and people that come into Manhattan. It's a dangerous situation, and we want it rectified immediately. So with that, I'm going to call on some folks to come up and say a few words. First, Mark Hannay from Metro New York Healthcare for All.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you all for coming. It's wonderful to be here with my neighbors. I live here in the East Village for over 40 years now. I'm director of Metro New York Healthcare for All. We're a regional community labor health advocacy coalition, and we're helping to lead this campaign to save Beth Israel Hospital and save hospital care in Lower Manhattan, and I'll tell you about that in a little bit. I want to thank all the elected officials from Lower Manhattan that have come together and joined with the community in this fight. Certainly Councilmember Rivera, also Council Members Marte, Botcher, and Powers. Some of these people you're going to be hearing from. Assembly Members Epstein, Blake, Simone, and Lee. State Senators Kavanaugh, Kruger, Gonzalez, and there's one more. Hoylman Siegel, that's right, thank you. I forgot to put those names on my list here. Representatives Goldman and Nadler, and other elected officials from New York City, including Borough President Levine, Public Advocate Williams, and State Attorney General James. I want to thank representatives from community boards 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and I want to thank the community organizations that are joining into this campaign so far, including the Stuyvesant Town and Peter Cooper Village Tenants Association, Housing Works, the Coalition for a District Alternative, Village Independent Democrats, Chelsea Reform Democrats, the 504 Democratic Club, the New York Progressive Action Network, Community Voices for Health System Accountability, and the Center for Independence of the Disabled in New York. And most of all, I want to thank and salute the hospital workers here at Beth Israel who are working with us behind the scenes. It's not an easy time for them. It's not an easy time for them to speak out. We appreciate however they can contribute to our coalition efforts. And they have borne the brunt of this closure process, which has been going on for several years now, at the place they love and work, and they are committed and have been committed to serving our community. So let's hear it for the Beth Israel Hospital. I sort of tell a little bit about myself, and I want to tell my own patient story at Beth Israel. In 2012, I was riding my bike up in Midtown Manhattan, and I was sideswiped by a taxi. And when the ambulance came and picked me up, they gave me 5 options of places to go. And one of them was Beth Israel Hospital. And I chose Beth Israel Hospital because it was the closest to where I live. It was my community hospital. And I knew if I was going to have to come and go for services, that would be the best place for me to go. So I went there, I got excellent care, and I didn't know it at the time, but at that time, it was one of the top orthopedic departments in the city. So that's my experience. And then in 2016, I had to have some scheduled surgery at another hospital here in New York City. And at the last minute, they needed some imaging stuff done, and they couldn't do it at the facility. And they arranged for me to have that imaging done here at Beth Israel so that I could go ahead with my surgery. And that's how Beth Israel has been my community hospital for me, and for hundreds and thousands of Lower Manhattan residents like myself. So we have the situation where Mount Sinai, one of the biggest hospital systems here in New York City, is closing down a historic hospital that served lower income and immigrant communities for well over 100 years on the Lower East Side. So we need the New York State Department of Health to step forward and lead on this issue. Yeah. They need to protect hospital care in Lower Manhattan. They can't just rubber stamp this closure plan that Mount Sinai has given them. They and the governor have to step forward and be an active leader on this issue. They need an open and public process that we in the community can participate in, including a public hearing. They need to bring in and listen to us community people and our elected officials. And that process is starting, I'm glad to say. They need to assess the impact of a possible hospital closure on what it will mean to Lower Manhattan before they make any decision on the closure plan. And they must work with with the legislature and the governor. We need to reform the state's oversight of hospital closures.
Yes!
We need to restore regional health planning so that when a hospital operator decides it wants to close, somebody's looking at the bigger picture, because that doesn't happen right now. We need to bring the hospital closure consideration process into the state's certificate of need process that covers much of everything else that hospitals have to do. For some reason, closures are not part of that process. And they need to make this a full review certificate of need and not something that's buried in the bowels of the health department, so that the public has an opportunity to participate in the process. So thank you very much, and you'll hear more from us, but our work is just starting. We're going to be here, and we're going to make sure that we ensure access to hospital care for all the people who live and work in Lower Manhattan. Thank you.
Well, I will tell you, last term I was chair of the hospital committee. Now we are joined by Councilmember Mercedes Narcisse, who's chair of the hospital committee in the city council. Also my colleague, who is chair of the health committee as a council member, now our Manhattan Borough president, fighting for all the rights of all our Manhattan residents and beyond. Mark Levine.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Carlina Rivera. Mark, is it Hannah? Hannah. That was an amazing speech. Give him a big round of applause. Thank you for channeling what was a personal crisis for you into positive activism for this community. I am very proud to be standing here with this all-star array of electeds. We got 2 state senators, Senator Kavanaugh, Senator Gonzalez. Give them a big round of applause. We got 2 state assembly members, Assemblymember Glick, Assemblymember Epstein. We love both of them. And Tony Simone. Where's Tony? Did not see you. I'm sorry. Okay, there he is. We got 3 council members. Eric Botcher. 4. Did I say 3? I meant 4. Is there any elected official who's not here? All right. We got Majority Leader Keith Powers and Hospital Chair Narcisse, and everyone else here. I love all of you. There are 400,000 people who live in Manhattan, south of 23rd Street. 400,000 people. This is the population of a mid-sized American city. And the population goes up every day with people who come here to work and to study and to visit. We are in danger of being left with one small full-service hospital for the equivalent of a mid-sized American city. I checked the stats today. Atlanta has a population of 400,000. There are dozens of hospitals inside the Atlanta city limits. We'll be left with just one, New York Presby's downtown hospital. That is wholly inadequate for a community of this size. And if we are left with a standalone emergency room, that doesn't work. In the tragic closure of St. Vincent's, we were left with a standalone emergency room. And it's better than nothing. But let me tell you how that works. If you're having a heart attack, SDNY ambulance, they're not going to take you to that emergency room because they need a facility with an ICU upstairs and the ability to operate upstairs. There's no substitute for an emergency department connected to inpatient beds if you are having a true medical crisis. There are 5 ambulances based here. They would all be dispersed. The patients coming here would inundate the 2 nearest emergency departments, which are NYU and Bellevue. Now, NYU, they'll have the resources to work it out. But Bellevue is already overwhelmed. And it's a particularly acute crisis if you look at psychiatric emergency departments. This is only one of 3 in the whole borough of Manhattan. And if we lose this psychiatric emergency department, they're all going to Bellevue. And that will deprive people downtown, a community with a significant population of NYCHA residents, of low-income people, a Medicaid population who depend on this hospital. It will be a true crisis for Bellevue. We cannot let that happen. We need this hospital to remain open. And we need this process slowed down. It is outrageous that now in December, they're planning on shutting down key departments in this building. That is, you're giving me the bullhorn now? Okay. All right, well, I don't know if it's needed, but that makes me want to do a cheer. So, all right. All right. Okay, will you help me out here, Marcy? Okay, thank you. All right. How we doing? I'm now going to start. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. That's my cue to wrap up the speech. I want you to join me in saying the following together. Keep our hospital open.
Keep our hospital open.
Keep our hospital open.
Keep our hospital open.
That's the talk about. Got it. Thank you so much. All right.
I'd like to call up Dr. Sharon McLennan-Weir. You can let. She is Executive Director of the Center for Independence of the Disabled, New York, Sydney. Please, go right over here. All right. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I am going to talk as loud as I can.
All right.
I am here to talk about people with disabilities, and I want you to understand that we are 25% of the U.S. population. It is important for you to know that we're all one step away from having a disability. This population does not discriminate. You can be black or white, rich or poor, gay or straight, and one day be disabled. What makes a difference in an emergency is having a hospital that can help you. It's important to have Beth Israel and also Manhattan, New York INE stay open. Sinai is doing a crushing don't want to have permanent disability, that hospital, that neighborhood hospital could save you. We must continue to fight, and we must also understand that people do visit this wonderful area and they would like to have a hospital that they can go to for service. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity.
Absolutely.
It's a necessity, people. Hear what I'm saying. We must continue to fight and keep the opportunity for good health care. Health care is not an opportunity, it's a right. And we must continue to fight and keep all the hospitals open. It's important to have Beth Israel as well as Manhattan Eye open. It could save your life. It's not about the dollars and cents, it's about saving all our lives. I'm here to tell you, in 2008, I was hit by a car, and the wonderful doctor, Michael Kushner, worked in Westchester County. But where did he perform his surgeries? Right here in Beth Israel. And he saved my knee so I can one day, again, dance in high heels. It's important for you to understand that doctors work here from all over the city, not just people living here, right here in this area. We come all over for treatment. So keep the damn place open.
All right.
Dr. Sharon, thank you so much. This is about our lives, our quality of life, us being able to feel like people, our humanity. That's all we are asking, is to be heard. I'm going to ask our state senators to join us. I do want to recognize that I know we were joined by a representative of Liz Kruger's office, state senator, as well as our Congressman Nadler, representative. I would like to bring up state senators Brian Kavanaugh and Kristen Gonzalez. A representative from Congressman Danville.
All right, hi everybody. How are we feeling today? We feeling good? I want to thank you all so much for coming out. My name is State Senator Kristen Gonzalez, and I represent this hospital. And I want you to look around and see this coalition is what it looks like when the community does not feel like our voices are being heard. And that's right, keep our hospital open. And I'm really proud to stand with my other state elected officials, because next session we are going to go to Albany to ensure that this hospital stays open. Healthcare is a right. Having a hospital is a right. Anything short of that is not dignity for the thousands of neighbors that we have who are aging, who are differently abled, who need these critical services. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague as well, State Senator Brian Kavanaugh.
Thank you very much. This is an institution, as you've heard, that this community has relied on for decades, for ordinary day-to-day care, for emergency care, through 9/11, through Sandy, through the COVID crisis. This is the hospital that so many in this community relied upon. And it's true across the street in Stuyvesant Town, which I used to proudly represent, and it's especially true on the Lower East Side. I know we have Aixa Torres, one of the great public housing leaders of our city, here to make that point. And just, Mark Hanna described in great detail the oversight process that applies when a hospital is trying to close facilities like this. But let's boil this down for people. In New York State, you cannot open a hospital, you cannot close a hospital. You cannot add services, you cannot diminish services without the express approval of the New York State Health Department. We are demanding that the New York State Health Department do the job of representing this community, of bringing this community into the conversation, and making sure that this community is not left without the critical healthcare services we need. Thank you very much.
There we go. How about people in the back? Are we ready to save our hospital? Save our hospital! 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 All right. Save our hospital! Save our hospital! We have a lot of those coming up. I want to bring up Dr. Kimberly Love Murdoch. Right?
but I dreamed of moving to New York City one day, and I did my training at Harvard, at Yale. I could have trained at any hospital, but I chose Beth Israel because it's a legendary hospital in this community. They took care of people during the HIV/AIDS epidemic, the pandemic. They took care of us during COVID-19.
Right.
And this hospital needs to stay open. We can't close these training programs. The future of our doctors, the future generations needs this hospital to stay open. And on a personal note, I met the love of my life at this hospital. I stole a sweater to wear today, Dr. Ian Kwok. We met here. It wouldn't have been possible without me training at Beth Israel. I live on 12th and C. This is our neighborhood hospital now. We need it to stay open. Thank you so much for coming.
And I know Dr. Ian Kwok, a wonderful doctor who is dedicated, who went above and beyond during the pandemic, pre and post-pandemic, and he is lucky to have you. All right. So I want to bring up Councilmember Mercedes Narcisse, who's the chair of the Hospitals Committee in the City Council. And also, she was a nurse. Well, you never stopped being a nurse.
No, once a nurse, always a nurse. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yes, I'm Mercedes Narcisse representing the 46th District and chair for Hospital Committee, right, in the council. So I have been in the conversation. You probably did not hear the name. Yes, all the email, and we've been fighting to make sure that we address the inequities in healthcare in New York City. Let me say that. It's very alarming to me when you say you're closing hospitals. Because whenever you're closing hospital, we know who's not gonna get care, right? The people that need it the most. When you say you're consolidating, you're merging, you know what you're doing. You are getting people out of the access of healthcare, quality healthcare. You heard the statistic from the board president. You heard it. You heard it. Because when you have one ER, right? Because I'm a ER nurse, once a nurse, always a nurse. So if you have, it's a matter of seconds you can save a life. So the distance you have to travel, in 30 minutes, if somebody have a heart attack, in 30 minutes, you know you don't get the best care, you're losing all the potential of, having a functional life again. Your brain capacity take even shorter time. So the reality is, we cannot do that anymore. We have to focus. We said we focus on preventive care. How are we going to focus on preventive care if you don't have access? You heard it from the patient here. He wanted to be close to his home. He wants to make sure that his family, he can go home and continue the care. So if we're not creating access, we're eliminating access to the people that need it the most. We're not addressing the inequities in healthcare. So today, I'm here to say, not only today I'm fighting, I'm going to continue fighting, making sure that we have the best quality healthcare in New York City. And then if you want to help anyone, it's providing the care. Because without your help, you're nothing. You're nothing. So we cannot afford to continue doing this to New York City, to folks that love New York City. You got your husband here, and I'm sure I got mine and so many kids in New York City, not here. But this is real. We have to continue fighting. And we have to ask our state representative to give the governor the message loud and strong that we cannot do that to our people in New York City. If we love New York City, we're leading by example, and the best way to lead is making sure that people have the best quality healthcare in New York City. When we fight, don't close our hospital, and we're not taking it anymore. Thank you, God bless you.
All right. I know you heard from Dr. Kimberly, who is someone who is a very dedicated medical professional. I want to bring up is Dr. Sarah Karp. Yay, Dr. Sarah, come up.
Hello, I'm Dr. Karp. I'm the Associate Program Director of the Family Medicine Residency at Mount Sinai. For those who aren't familiar with medical training, a resident is a doctor who graduated from medical school and has now gone on for advanced training in the specialty of their choice. Hospital systems like Mount Sinai receive millions of dollars to support the training of resident doctors. Our family medicine residents train both in the hospital but also in outpatient settings. Just west of here on West 17th Street, we treat patients for a full range of problems, and that includes treatment of substance use disorders, prenatal care, mental health, gender-affirming care, full spectrum reproductive health care, and most recently, urgently needed health care for 400 asylum seekers who are our newest New Yorkers. This residency started 30 years ago at Beth Israel Hospital. In 2012, when Mount Sinai, merged, aka took over Beth Israel, we were all given assurances. Mount Sinai would not close Beth Israel Hospital. Mount Sinai would support family medicine and its mission of caring for the most underserved patients in our area. Well, look where we are right now. Mount Sinai there's a piece of, you all know they want to close Beth Israel. What you don't know is 2 weeks ago, the family medicine residency program was told that they were defunding a residency, that we could accept 0 new residents in the current match season. We are in the middle of patient right. Our graduates, we have over 125 graduates, most of whom stay in New York City and continue to serve the most vulnerable New Yorkers and all New Yorkers. If they close our residency program, that ends. This pipeline of family doctors to serve this community and all the communities in New York ends. So, as other speakers have said, healthcare is a human right. Everybody deserves access to the most equitable and superb care, regardless of their ability to pay, regardless of their background. Mount Sinai has put the money over the people, and we cannot accept it. This community cannot accept it, and we all need to come together and oppose the closing of the hospital and of the residency program.
All right, well, thank you, Dr. Carpet. You heard that this is about also our underserved communities. There are many people who are comfortable coming to this hospital. There are certain hospitals that just have a culture of accepting and understanding how to approach the work with cultural humility. Those are the healthcare workers that are inside this building right now. This is about them too. I want to make sure that we mention the state a lot in terms of what they have been pushing to do at the state level, hoping that maybe this hospital can be designated as a safety net hospital to qualify for additional funding and stay open. But we are exploring every opportunity and pathway, but we need the Mount Sinai system to come to the table. We need them to be along with us on this journey to keep these doors open. So I'm going to ask our assembly members, Harvey Epstein, Tony Simone, and of course Deborah Glick, to come up.
How you doing out there? Are we ready to save this hospital? So some people know my daughter was born at Beth Israel Hospital. This is something that's personal to all of us. I've gotten to the emergency room there. My family's gotten care there. So when you hear from constituents and concerns that, hey, we're not going to have a hospital, it sinks deep in all of us. The reality is that Mount Sinai Beth Israel does not want to negotiate. We have to force them to the table. When the councilwoman talked about making this a safety net hospital, they spent a year and a half talking to the governor's office and not speaking to one state elected or federal elected or council member about what they needed from us to get sure they would get safety net status. Their failure to want to work really sends the message that they really want to close the facility. They've taken all the profitable services and taken it out of this building. Right. And here we end up with a building that's going to be worth tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in the market. And what we are going to lose is the hospital, and what they're out to gain is potentially lots of money for other parts of the state. That is not something that's acceptable to us, and we're going to continue to fight to save this hospital because healthcare is a right. Yep.
No shutdown, no sale. No shutdown, no sale. No shutdown, no sale.
I'm Assemblymember Deborah Glick, and I have been through this movie before. St. Vincent's went through the same thing where they came to the community and they said they want to build a state-of-the-art hospital, which wound up eliminating the hospital, giving us luxury condos and a freestanding emergency room, which does not replace a full-service hospital. And the State Department of Health told us then, not that long ago, don't worry, you have Beth Israel. 10 years ago, Mount Sinai bought this hospital, and it told its community, we're going to build a state-of-the-art facility. It's going to be beautiful. We understand that healthcare's changed to some extent and that there's more ambulatory care, and we may not need as many hospital beds, but we need hospital beds.
That's right.
By their own admission, they say they only have maybe 28% of their beds filled. Let me tell you folks, that's 150 people who aren't going to have access to a hospital bed when they need it. This is a plan from the beginning. The folks who worked here have told us that the day they took over, they started moving to shut it down and to shove things into their other facilities. It is not acceptable to me to have to go from our community up to 59th Street in order to get care at Mount Sinai West. I call it Roosevelt Hospital. Always will.
Thing for Capri.
We need the State Department of Health to stop rubber stamping major hospital systems from closing services that are desperately needed for people who are low income and middle income and who need services in their community. We are not giving up. We are not allowing this to close. We are going, if we have to go and sit in, they're not taking this hospital.
That's a tough act to follow. I'm Assemblymember Tony Simone. I represent Chelsea, Hell's Kitchen, Midtown, Central Park. Look, I agree with Deborah. I remember part 1 of this horror movie with St. Vincent's. We cannot have a part 2 of this horror movie. This is a matter of life and death. During COVID, during Sandy, Beth Israel was there. We should thank our hospital workers and all the folks that were there that helped our fellow New Yorkers. And now we cannot abandon them. And who else we cannot abandon is so many of my constituents who use Beth Israel.
That's right.
They were made a promise when St. Vincent closed that you had Beth Israel. As Assemblymember Glick and Epstein, my great colleagues who've been fighting this fight longer than me, have said before me. And now, here we are again. The governor and the State Department of Health need to get ready for our phone calls and onslaught because they need to keep this hospital open. Make a deal if you have to. I get it, healthcare has changed. But you cannot abandon Lower Manhattan for profits. You cannot put profits over patients. This is a matter of life and death. And like Deborah said, I look forward to sitting in to making sure this hospital stays open in some form. Don't abandon Lower Manhattan. Governor Hochul, get ready for the phone calls. Department of Health, get ready for the onslaught. We must save Beth Israel.
Healthcare is a human right. Fight, fight, fight. 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 Healthcare is a human right. Fight, fight, fight.
Like there are many places that we've seen. Cabrini, gone. St. Vincent, gone. So here we are. And I want to bring up someone who has been doing this work for a very, very long time. Someone I've gone to for guidance, for information, for data support, all of that. Lois Utley from Community Voices for Health System Accountability. Thank you.
sign and brought it because, yeah, it shows what I'm going to talk to you about. All right. Look, you've heard that Lower Manhattan Florida. Louder. I know. This camera, baby.
Not everybody can speak that loud.
All right, I'll talk as loud as I can. There are not enough hospital beds in Lower Manhattan for the people who live here, and it's inequitable. Look at this. Here's the Upper East Side. 10 hospital beds per 1,000 people. Look at the Lower East Side. Less than 1 hospital bed per person. Is that fair?
No.
Is it too low? It is actually. It's well below the national and New York standards, which are 2.5 beds per 1,000 people. 2.5 is the national and state average. And what has the Lower East Side got? Half of that. Is it safe for Lower Manhattan to have so few hospital beds? No. It's not safe. You know, since the closure of St. Vincent's, everybody has been directed over here. Remember COVID? Remember the last time the Mount Sinai tried to close Beth Israel? When was it? January of 2020. And what did we say? Hey, what if we have a pandemic? And they all said, oh, don't worry about that. The other hospitals can absorb the patients. No. You close this hospital, you're going to cause Bellevue to be overrun.
That's right.
You're going to force people to go up to NYU, where a lot of people don't feel that comfortable, honestly, if they got Medicaid, if they're uninsured, if they don't speak English as their first language. We need this hospital. Lower Manhattan needs and deserves better access to hospital care. It's fair, and it's equitable, and it's safe to keep this hospital open. So thank you so much to all these great elected officials for doing the job. We know you're out there fighting for us, and we're going to do everything we can to back you up.
Thank you. It's about accountability and equity. I want to thank Lois Utley. Not everybody has the loud outside voice. That's okay, because we need her in this fight, and that was incredible. Thank you, Lois. I want to bring up my colleagues in the council, Majority Leader Keith Powers, Council Member Chris Marte, Council Member Eric Blatcher.
Thank you. First of all, a very big thank you for everyone for being out here today. This is not a hypothetical. This isn't some academic exercise. For people like me, I live literally right across the street, and I see so many of my neighbors from Stuyvesant Town and Peter Cooper who are here too. This is across the street from our house. For us, this means this is the most accessible health care to us if there's an emergency. For many families here, their children were born here. When COVID hit, this is where people like myself got our COVID shot. We have employees here. We have young people who moved here because they work at the hospital and wanted to build their life here, and I've heard from them too. We are here, not, like I say, not on a hypothetical. This is about our community and access to health care. And as the assembly member said, when other hospitals close, like Brady, like St. Vincent, they always say, don't worry, you got another one nearby. First thing I learned in politics is when somebody says, don't worry, you better start worrying. Because they're telling you time and time again, don't worry. But we're not seeing new hospitals opening up, are we? No. We're just seeing the continued downsize and loss of health care in this community and throughout the city. And to continue to close hospitals that provide important and essential services in an emergency or every single day is absolutely unconscionable, and is something that I didn't think I'd be seeing in my time as an elected official. And we're standing in front of a building that actually used to be Beth Israel housing, actually. And so this was a hospital that was foundational to this community. We housed people here who worked there. We had people across the street who depended on that health care. Yes, yeah. And to continue to downsize, to take that away from my community, from our community, is something that we are not going to let happen. And that's why we're here today. Is that right? Yeah! And I talk about my community, it's not just us. I'm here joined by my other two colleagues who represent downtown Manhattan and the West Side. And that will show you, and the whole community that's here will show you, that as we close down hospitals, larger parts of our city and our borough rely on those hospitals. And today we are now facing the loss of one of the last hospitals in downtown Manhattan. So I also want to call out my colleagues, Councilmember Chris Martin and Councilmember Eric Botch.
All right, let's give this a try. I'm gonna say, hey, hey, ho, ho. We will not let Beth Israel close. Hey, hey, ho, ho. We will not let Beth Israel close. Hey, hey, ho, ho. We will not let Beth Israel close. Gotta try. As a Beth Israel baby, you know we're gonna fight as hard as we can to make sure this does not close. Because we all know what this is. It's a real estate transaction. But for what price? During Hurricane Sandy, the only functional hospital was Beth Israel downtown. What was that price? During the pandemic, when people couldn't cross the street and had to come here for services, what price is that? When we think about the heart attacks, the labor issues, what price is that? And so this is far more expensive than a real estate transaction. Right. And so we're gonna fight with our state colleagues to make sure that the governor not only listens, but acts to what our community wants and what our community desperately needs. Because if they take this one out, the next one is downtown. The next one is Midtown. And so we have to draw the line here today and say no more closing of our hospitals. Thank you.
When
I say, what do you want? You say hospital care. What do we want?
Hospital care.
What do we want?
Hospital care.
When do we want it?
Now.
When do we want it?
Now.
Forever. Forever.
Hey everyone, my name is Eric Botcher. I'm the council member on the west side of Manhattan. Because this is a west side issue, it's an east side issue. This affects all of us. We all remember March of 2020, a mass casualty event in New York City. And what we needed at that time, desperately, was hospital beds. We needed square footage. That matters. The physical space matters. It's foolish to think that we're never going to need that again. It's foolish to think that we're not going to have mass casualties again. So this is where we rely, as New Yorkers, we rely on the State Department of Health to have the oversight to ensure proper health care for our community. So I join with all my colleagues and all of you calling on the state to exercise its authority and to prevent this closure. Because healthcare is a right. Healthcare is a right.
Healthcare is a right. Healthcare is a right. Healthcare is a right.
Thanks to Councilmember Rivera and everyone who organized today.
That's right, we have a message for the governor too. We have some numbers here. You heard a little bit about it, but this is what we're facing. We're facing very few beds. One bed for every 1,000 people. It's only poised to get worse. The slow reduction of services and closures, it has been imminent. It has always been that shadow right behind us. And it is here. So we are sending a message. It is not fair, it is not just, it is not equitable to have one hospital south of 23rd Street when we are able to come together and figure out how to make government work for the people, to figure out how this should not be about selling off land for profit. This is about our lives. This is about our families and our community. So with that, I just want to call up someone who is no stranger to this fight inequities, our public advocate, Imani Williams.
I wanted to just redo his chant a little bit. Hey, hey, ho, ho, we won't let this hospital close. Hey, hey, ho, ho, we won't let this hospital close. Hey, hey, ho, ho, we won't let this hospital close. Hey, hey,
ho! We won't let this hospital close!
I want to give us credit though. It is, I just
This is the best one.
So it sounds like Beth Israel Mount Sinai presented a problem that existed of not all their long-term beds are being used and they're losing money. I'm going to put aside for a moment the fact that what you were saying is the most important thing is not health care, it's profit. Yes. And I found that every time we put profit over a human right or something that people need, we run into problems. But we'll put that aside for a second. Because what they didn't do is come and say, here's a plan that can match what we have to the health care that people need in 2024. What they didn't say is, let's listen to our elected officials who are presenting another way you can get the money you need to keep the hospital open. What they didn't say is, we just came through a pandemic and we understand how important health care is. Let's sit down and figure out how to keep this open. Well, what they did is said, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna shut it down sooner than we said. That to me sounds like a predatory plan to get as much money as you can. We've all seen predatory loans on buildings. This is a predatory plan for a hospital to get as much money as humanly possible on the backs of the health care that people must have in this city and in the communities they live. That's right. That's all that it is. And it is shameless that you would try to present this is anything other than you want as much cash as you can get for that profitable property right there. That's right. But what we know is that we have learned lessons of healthcare time and time again. What we know is there are plans that if you want to keep this hospital open, you can. We also know that this plan hasn't even been approved by the Department of Health. And so I want to join Assemblymember Click and anyone else who says they want to sit in and block whatever you have to block to make sure this hospital stays open. Because your need for cash is not more important than the people's need for health care. So thank you. You got another one. Stop the need, stop the greed, fulfill the need.
Stop the greed, fulfill the need. Stop the greed, fulfill the need. Stop the greed, fulfill the need. Stop the greed, fulfill the need.
All right, well, there were a couple of people that we certainly wanted to join us today, but I just want to mention there's someone we know, Rich, who was here. He was a patient for a heart attack, and it was because of the proximity to where he lived, what he was facing, and the services inside of this hospital that his life was saved. We have another constituent who could not make it today. She is grieving. She had a parent who had to receive services, but she was told to go somewhere else for services. In that transit, during that time between hospitals, she lost her loved one. These are real stories of real people, and I want to thank every single person that has shared that story, that has turned that pain into action. There are so many different representatives from different places here. I'm just so moved and so proud to be a part of this community. I just want to give a shout out. I know we have people here from Stuyvesant Town, Peter Cooper Village.
Yeah.
I know we have. I see my people from NYCHA, from public housing.
Yeah.
I love every single time. Our TA presidents, and of course the workers.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, there is not, and the consumers, the patients, they are not being told how quickly this is happening. In the blink of an eye, we are seeing services being shuttered. We are devastated and we are scared. And I know that people are exhausted from the fight of always having to try to preserve what are the basics in life: housing, food, education, and certainly healthcare. But I'll tell you, when we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. All right, and with that, are there any questions from the press?
Questions from the press?
Give a shout out to who brought us here today.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much. I don't know if everybody, I think it would be really powerful if you just all came together so we can send a nice card to Mount Sinai and let them know how many people showed up today to say, save our hospital.
Save our hospital. Save our hospital. Save our hospital. Save our hospital. Save our hospital. Save our hospital. Save our hospital. Save our hospital. Save our hospital. Save our hospital. Save our hospital. Save our hospital. Save our hospital. Save our hospital. Save our hospital. Save our hospital. Save our hospital. Save our hospital. Save our hospital. Save our hospital. Save our hospital. Save our hospital. Save our hospital. Save our
Alright, so remember to like, share and subscribe. Thank you. Alright, acuérdense de darme un like, compartir y suscribirse. Gracias.
Next to it started
My office, everyone keep you updated as to the next steps and where to show up, all right? Thank you so much. Thank you.
Without even getting the
Even before the date that they have given us, which is summer, only 6 months away, they want to close the entire facility. See these services close as prematurely and as sort of under the radar is a lack of transparency. It's something to build through this trust.
No, a standalone emergency. That's just not good enough.
What we're facing is zero. So having a standalone emergency department so enough for all of us, we are asking urgently for a patient rescue. They need something here in order to serve thousands of people in this area. And so we're using it very clear. All of the elections on every level of government want to work with the doors open, and it is up to them to put aside their potential real estate sale about the future of their
What do you think is our best bet to keep it? Is it government intervention? Is it the governor?
I think we can really use the government help right now. We need to have this facility remain, and whether it's bringing in another partner, looking at other services. The most basic here something we're trying to grow across the city and all the people there is potential for this building. It is having the political will to do something. The community has certainly showed up today. Many elected officials have as well, and so we're sending a message loud and clear that we're all united to keep this building.
Thank you. And sorry, I lied. One question. Thank you. Spot over here.
Alright, so until next time, hasta la próxima, à la prochaine fois. Au revoir.
Mayor's proposed